We are back. Another week of Playmakers Fantasy Football Show. I am Peter, aka Sheffield Shuffler. I have a new co-host. Do you want to introduce yourself, Andrew? Tell us who you are, what you do.
Yeah, my name's Andrew Salchunas, Philly, South Jersey, born and raised. Went to Temple, so I'm Philly through and through. I work for 97.5 The Fanatic. It's a sports station in Philadelphia. So sports is my life, man. I mean, I grew up. I was the weird kid that wore the jersey to school literally every single day, and they're like,
You
"All right,
are.
this kid, seriously, this is all he wears is Philly jerseys and Eagles jerseys, Sixers jerseys." So sports is my life, man. And I'm blessed that I get to do it on Sports Talk Radio. And so, it's taken over my life. Everything is sports. My wife hates it. All I do is watch sports all the time, and that's why I love gambling, right? So it's cool that I'm on here today, man, and hope to help people out with some money, man.
Yeah, we're giving out winners, right? That's the whole point. Information, winners. That's what we do here. So if you guys like listening to Andrew today, again, what is it, 94.7?
97.5.
97.5. I was off by a couple numbers.
Yeah, there's another one, 94 something, but don't worry about that one. Just worry about 97.5.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly,
All
man.
Right. Cool. You got any takeaways from last weekend, Andrew? Anything to keep in mind moving forward here?
Just keep betting the birds. As you can see, rocking the birds right here. Actually, my man Fink's Hoagies up in the Northeast. But yeah, man, the birds are just on fire, man. They're 4-0, and I'm going to talk about the Eagles later on today when we give some of the picks. And I promise you, when I bet, I don't let homerism take over, right? I don't bet with my heart, right? I bet with my mind. But they're incredible right now. The only question mark I had coming into the season was Jalen Hurts and whether or not he was going to be able to take that next step. And he has been able to, man. It's been incredible week in, week out. I was in DC when we took over Landover, and I saw them just beat Carson Wentz to the ground, 9 sacks that day. So the offense is real, the defense is real. So last week was awesome for the Eagles and really the entire slate of football, man. I mean, I think there's some surprise teams that we've seen so far, like that Jacksonville squad that the Eagles just beat. If the weather was nicer, who knows where that game goes? And then, look, I mean, the Oakland Vegas Raiders, they're 1-3 now. I can't imagine that they continue to be this sub-500 team with Devontae Adams. I think Derek Carr's a decent quarterback. And now that they got in the win column, I think that helps them out a little bit. And I can't wait to talk about Thursday night's game because there was a lot of heat for the weirdest man in the world, Russell Wilson, right? He's a strange dude, but he looked a little bit better, man. He looked better.
The biggest thing I think with that Eagles team was that was the first one ugly. They faced adversity. They went down 14-0. They didn't flinch. And you hear Jalen Hurts talking about in the locker room. We didn't flinch. Rain, sleet, or snow. Birds are ready to go. I love that saying. Yes. But yeah, that's the thing is just they got hit in the mouth early. And how do you respond to that? How do you lay over and you die? No, you come back and they still cover the spread too, which was pretty nice. So
yeah, it made a lot of people happy. Made a lot of people happy, myself included.
They faced some adversity, came back and got a nice win. So I like that they can win, ugly games as well. So that was a great takeaway. But tomorrow we got Thursday night football. I want to let you go first and tell me what you got here in this Thursday night football game.
Yeah, man, I can't wait. This is going to be a great one. We got the news earlier today that Jonathan Taylor's out for the Colts. So where's their offense? I know Matt Ryan threw for over 300 yards last week, but I don't buy it. He looks like an old man. I never really liked him in Atlanta, to be honest with you, but he looks like an old man out there. And I give him credit. He had a nice week last week, but you lose Jonathan Taylor, you're not just putting 8 men in the box anymore, right? It's not like Denver's just going to load up on the line of scrimmage. They'll play Matt Ryan to pass and make him have to beat him with his arm. And then you go, all right, what are they going to do on the ground? Is Naheem Hines really going to kill them? I don't think so. So I love Denver in this game, man. I know the line's 3.5, and I'm sure the number's going to change a little bit. If you want to mess around, this is what I do. I love going SGPs. If the more and more you watch this show, the more and more you'll learn that I love messing around with same game parlays. So I always move the spread around a little bit. So you see on the screen, I have actually the Broncos 2.5. I'm going to buy it down a little bit so the value's not as great. But when you do an SGP, you're coming out with some good odds anyway. So in the game in general, I do like Denver. You want to just go money line and be safe? Go Denver because they're not as banged up. They don't have their best player out like the Colts do offensively with Jonathan Taylor. Like I said, Russ looked better last week. I know he's got the shoulder thing that everybody's going to keep an eye on, but he's got so many weapons. I think that was kind of that first week where you saw maybe that coming out party for Russell Wilson in Denver. So I'm
Mhm.
going to say it, Broncos country, let's ride. Let's ride. I think they win this
Wow.
week, man.
We haven't
They
heard that enough either.
No, which is probably
Yeah.
an okay thing. He's so corny, man. Like, I love the dude as a quarterback. I wanted him here. I wanted the Eagles to trade for him, but he's the corniest man in the world.
I am going on the opposite side of you there, Andrew. I do like the points with Indianapolis. I know we mentioned Jonathan Taylor being out, but also Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams is lost as well. So they had to go and sign Latavius Murray. They got Mike Boone to replace him, who's going to do some work with Melvin Gordon, who is averaging 5.2 fantasy points per game. So I'm not worried about Melvin Gordon. Also, Nathaniel Hackett, do you trust that guy? No. For me, the answer is no. I'm looking at Russell Westbrook, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception on the season. Nothing impressive. Denver ranks 18th in rushing yards per game and 18th in opponent rushing yards per game. So they are the definition of mid, as the kids like to say. Jonathan Taylor's out. I don't care. I think Nyheim Hines does feast. And that's kind of where I am seeing it right now. Also, Broncos have only covered once this season. Colts have covered twice. Nothing spectacular, but for me and for that money, I do like that 3, especially that number. You bought it down, and I think that is going to be a big difference. Obviously, I'm okay with that push, and I do like the points with the Colts.
Yeah, it's funny, right? So your diatribe right there. You talked about Melvin Gordon. I actually trust the dude this week. I know his biggest issue right now has been fumbling the football, which is why those fantasy numbers are down. He's been fumbling the football last week. He had the crazy play. Kevin Harlan's insane on the call. The guy brings it back for Vegas, scores the touchdown. And look, I know you can't really trust the dude who's got fumbleitis this year, but I do like his over and rushing yards. Now, I haven't seen it just yet exactly. It's bounced around. I've seen it at 55.5. I've seen it at 58.5. The book I use is at 57.5. So I do actually like the Melvin Gordon over. And here's what I do. Like, I'm sure you do the same thing. Before odds come out, you try to do in your own head, right? Like, where are they going to put this guy? I actually put Melvin Gordon in my own brain at 54.5. That was my guess before I even saw it today. And so I said, all right, if I'm going to do an SGP, because I brought down that line at 2.5, I'll buy up the Melvin Gordon 60-plus rushing yards, which is going to give you right around plus 100, right? So I was going to do that to begin with before I even saw what the total was. 57.5, I like it. Again, Russell Wilson, the shoulder's bothering him a little bit right now, so they might have to rely on Gordon. And because Gordon hasn't been that workhorse because they got Javonte Williams, and now that he's out, I imagine Gordon's got some decent fresh legs. It's a short week, right? We all know it's tough to play on a Thursday night in the NFL for both offense and defense. But because he may have some fresher legs going into this game against a Colts defense, I actually do like Gordon and his production value this week.
I'm going with the other running back there with Nyheim Hines for the reasons that it's set at 35.5. He's gone under this 5.5, 4 out of 4 games this season. So why would I go with it? Because this is the game. It all changes tomorrow. He's tasked with owning the backfield, getting the workload, facing this Broncos defense that is very middle of the road. So I think that's the reason why I do like that over 35. That's a very manageable number for a very good running back who gets a lot of passes in the backfield, but I think he's going to manage a lot of the workload behind the line of scrimmage. And I think that's priced right where it should be.
Yeah, I'll give you one more prop before we move on. Jerry Judy last week. It looked like Russ and Judy really started to get that connection. I love Judy for an anytime tutty this weekend. I mean, it looked like for a little bit it was Russ and Sutton, but you saw it last week and really in crunch time too, where they were trying to come back against Vegas, and he started looking at Judy's way a lot. I got Judy on my fantasy team too, right? So I'm paying close attention. I wouldn't mind if he got in the end zone to help me out a little bit. My squad's struggling this year. So I do like Judy to score a touchdown anytime. It's plus 220, depending on where you're looking at it, but it's right around there. Sutton actually has better odds to score a touchdown, but I do like Judy, and that's what I'm going to put in my SGP. I always throw an anytime touchdown in whatever makes sense, right? You're not just doing it like, the odds are plus 9,000. I'm going to throw this in here for good value. It actually makes sense that Judy could score a touchdown. Again, Russ and him, they connected a little bit more this past weekend. So I love Judy to get in the end zone on Thursday night.
Beautiful, guys. That is the Thursday night game tomorrow. Those are our plays for the Thursday night games. We're going to take a look at the Sunday games. First game I'm looking at here is I like the Dolphins at -3 against the Jets. Why? Teddy Two Gloves, Teddy covers. Teddy Bridgewater is a sports bettor's favorite quarterback. Why? 63 games in his career, 42, 20, and 1 against the spread. That's a 66.6 percentage that he covers the spread. Lovely. I love Teddy Bridgewater. He's going to get the ball to his playmakers just like he has in every offense he's played in. Miami is 2-2 against the spread this season. Jets are struggling to have success on the ground. They have a total of 33% less rushing yards than league average. They rank 28th in rushing yards. Forcing this MILF hunter to throw 36 times a game is a recipe for disaster. I think the Miami defense can feast on a lot of his mistakes. He's still a young quarterback, and I like that. I like that at -3. Again, Teddy Bridgewater. The key here is getting the ball to his playmakers in open space. I don't think that's that much of an issue against this Jets defense.
Dude, I love this pick of yours. I actually have Teddy Bridgewater as a potential DFS quarterback because he's one of these guys that's not as high priced. Dude, he's got Tyreek Hill, and if Jalen Waddle's healthy, right? Like, look, it's not like he has to do much. He had just under 200 yards passing this past weekend after the Dolphins completely screwed up the situation with Tua Tagovailoa, which is just awful. I hope that guy's all right. I hope he's alive because the Dolphins are morons for that. But Teddy Bridgewater stepped right in. He almost had 200 yards passing. Just he got thrown into the game because he goes, Tyreek Hill, you can get 150 yards receiving just like that. So I actually like that pick a lot for you, Dolphins, to cover the 3. And I do think Teddy Bridgewater might be a sneaky pick for a DFS if you want to go cheaper at quarterback and then, of course, higher price running back and wide receiver. I'm going to rep the Birds this weekend to cover the 5.5. And like I said, I don't bet with my heart, okay? I never do because why would you do that if you're going to lose money? The Eagles have looked lethal. And I've watched a lot of these Cardinals games. This is what I do, right? So I do sports talk for a living. So I have to try to pay attention to the upcoming opponents. So last week, Eagles game was done, and I got to pay attention a lot to that Cardinals game. And I've watched a couple of Cardinals games this year. Kyler Murray's been fantastic in the second half. First half, he's been suspect. He hasn't been great. He does more and more with his legs, so he's still a nice little fantasy quarterback to have. But the Eagles aren't a team that are going to let you come back. Ever since that week 1 matchup against Detroit, where they took their foot off the gas pedal and the Lions came back and the sun god, Amon-Ra St. Brown was great.
Yeah, such a cool name.
Oh, yeah, it was an awesome game, unless you had the Eagles. But we won't talk about that one. But I do love the Birds to cover this one, man. I think 5.5 is actually a low line. I would grab that now because I do imagine that line's going to go up. I would even probably buy it up to 7 and get good value on that. You'll safe with the push if that happens, like a nice football number. But I love the Birds going on the road in this one. And I'm telling you right now, there are going to be Eagles fans flocking to Arizona. A ton of it. I know a couple of the companies that do the travel that go out there, they're all sold out, man. There's going to be a lot of Eagles fans there. It's going to be almost like a second home for the Birds. Hurts has been great. The offense has been great. The Cardinals defense doesn't scare me. And the Cardinals offense doesn't scare me. He's got no weapons to throw to right now. Like, Hollywood Brown's good and all, but that's it.
Your boy Zach Ertz has been stacking up some decent numbers at tight end over there. He's been the
Eagles have linebackers for the first time ever. Like, I cried. The preseason, Kazir White had an interception on like the very first drive, and I legitimately shed a tear. I was like, wait a minute, we got linebackers in Philly?
Yeah.
It's not Alex Singleton. It's not these CFL guys. I got legit NFL linebackers. I shed a tear, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, there's going to be a lot of production. I was just saying with Zach Ertz, with the missing of DeAndre Hopkins, he's been the beneficiary from that lackluster, wide receiving core because he's been missing. So I do like that. I mean, like I said, dude, I have jumped on this Eagles bandwagon, because I moved here last year. Obviously, I'm born and raised from Chicago, but this area is Birds crazy, Phillies. I mean, it's such a good sports town, and they are, like you said, they are lethal on all sides of the ball too. I mean, 2 of the best corners you can argue on defense as well with Bradbury and Slay. Dangerous, right?
Yeah, absolutely dangerous. And I'll even go slot corner Vontae Maddox. Now, here might be a good pick for your Ertz props or whatever you're looking at here for Zach Ertz. Vontae Maddox might miss his second straight week. He has been an incredible slot corner. They tried him in the outside. He was terrible. They tried him at safety. He was all right. They moved him to slot last year, and he was great. And he found a home there, and they gave him a contract extension. But he was out last week, and he might be out again this week. So maybe Zach Ertz can feast a little bit because their slot corners out. And again, I talked about the linebackers, right? You actually have real linebackers for the Eagles for once, but I'm sure Ertz will get his. Hey, he's going up against his old team, right? So, there's going to be that little bit of a revenge factor always in the NFL.
Yes. Yeah. Doug Peterson was on the wrong side of that last week. Love to see it. Next game we got here. I like the Chargers inside of a field goal against the Browns. I love this inside of a field goal. Cleveland can pound the ball, right? They got an elite backfield. Chargers don't have a terrible run defense. They rank 14th in opponent rushing yards per game. Chargers are the opposite. Chargers have 35% more passing yards than league average. They're very obviously high-powered throwing offense, but Cleveland doesn't have a terrible pass defense either. They rank 13th in opponent passing yards per game. So Chargers are 2-1 against the spread as favorites this season. I'm looking for Justin Herbert to shine here. Myles Garrett's status, I'm not sure. This is going to be a game high passing versus high rushing. In this game, give me the passing with the Chargers at -2.5 inside a field goal. I really like that.
Yeah, I think it's a good pick, man, because like you said, it's high passing versus high rushing. And if Jacoby Brissett has to try to keep up with Justin Herbert, it's not going to go well for Cleveland. Cleveland's been a fun team to watch this year. Nick Chubb, he's just been an absolute beast. But if they need to start playing from behind, I think that's a very smart pick. I do like the Chargers to cover the spread as well. So I'm with you on that one. I think it's a good play.
All right.
All right. So you just brought up Doug Peterson, my man. Look, yeah. I love Dougie P. I got no problem there. There's this weird like Philly hatred from the people outside here. Oh, you guys ran Doug out of town. There's a whole story behind it. There were people not seeing eye to eye. We still got the statue right out of Lincoln Financial Field, the Philly statue. It's still standing. Like, it's not like they took it down before last weekend. I love the Jacksonville Jaguars this week, man, to cover the 7. It's smart because you might get the push if you want to buy it down to a 6.5, right? I always try to look at that kind of stuff to still try to win. If it wasn't for the rain, I know you mentioned it. They got out early, 14-0 last week. It was a weird deflected pick 6 to start the game. Then they're up 14-0 before you know it. If the weather was different and it's still 14-0, who knows where that game goes? I love my Birds. I don't know if they come back. I think because of that offensive and defensive line, you saw Trevor Lawrence struggle with the weather conditions, and you saw that the Eagles' offensive line and defensive line were able to feast. But I think the Jags bounce back. The Texans are a cute story. They're always in games. They put up a decent amount of points. Davis Mills, the giant neck, like he does okay. But I think Lawrence bounces back. I think he found a couple of weapons. Obviously, Christian Kirk's looked good. Jamal Agnew last week had a big day with 2 touchdowns. So I think they bounce back. Doug Peterson, I know him from his time here in Philly. He's always been able to get guys to rally around him, whether it's late in the year when they need to get a couple wins, get into the playoffs, or coming off of a loss. Doug Peterson has been very good in his career. So I do like Jacksonville. They've been a fun team to watch. I don't think they're fluky. Like, do I think they're going to win 11 games this year? No. But I think they're legit, and the Texans aren't. Like, the Texans, they have no defense whatsoever, and the Jags' defense is all right. So I like Jacksonville this Sunday.
I want to know the last time the Jaguars have been 7-point favorites. If you could tell me that, you get $5.
Was David Garrard the quarterback? Was Byron Leftwich, Mark Brunell? Like, who was the
Mark Brunell?
Was MJD on the squad? It must have been one of those days, I would imagine.
I couldn't tell you the last time I saw -7. I was like, oh my God, that looks just so bizarre next to them.
Yeah, but they've been fun to watch, man. And look, Urban Meyer's grinding on girls in the bar still probably right now. And I think
he's kicking kickers.
He screwed them all up, man. And Doug's just like, gosh, golly, like, I love football. Let's go out there and play. And I think guys respect it.
I really wanted Doug to try and pull a Philly special last week against the Eagles. I thought that would have been so disrespectful and hilarious at the same time. But this is my favorite play of the weekend. It's the Lions +3. Yes. I think this is one of the biggest mismatches of the week. Let's list what Detroit does better. Okay. They, more points per game, passing yards per game, passing touchdowns, rushing yards, net yards, red zone percentage, all ranking in the top 6 in the NFL. Detroit scores 60% more than league average. Jared Goff has been a silent killer, ranking as the 5th best fantasy quarterback as well. I mean, he's putting up massive points. I know some people are saying MVP chance, like sort of joking, but not really. Patriots also averaging just over 18 points per game against a number one scoring offense. Detroit's defense does give up the most opponent yards per game. So they are kind of lackluster on defense. They are ranking dead last in the NFL in that. But what is Mac Jones playing? I don't know. Brian Hoyer, I don't think he's playing. Zappy, if Zappy gets the start, man, I think this is a cakewalk, and I love it.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it was crazy last week, right? The Zappy going up against the Packers, and the Packers barely sweat one out and make it out alive. But I'm not about to buy into the hype. I'm with you, dude. You and I were talking about before the show. This is a play that I love too. I'll even give you the over too, 45.5, because you could score against this Lions defense. They haven't been incredible, like Dan Campbell, the cannibal, the knee biter, all that kind of tough talk that he does. Their defense hasn't really shown up just yet. The offenses look good. I mean, look, ground and pound, whether it's DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, you or me, it doesn't matter who's running. That offensive line gets pushed. They've been banged up, and yet they're still getting great push at the line of scrimmage. And the backs are just like eating nonstop. So they're going to score points. They're also going to give up points. And it's not like New England's been stellar whatsoever. So I actually like the over in this game too. But I do like the Lions, man. I think they're getting slept on. I love Bill Belichick. Obviously, you can't hate the guy. You might hate him personally, but you got to respect the dude. I think he still kind of gets that Bill Belichick love when it comes to some of these spreads. There have been some ugly New England games, man. The pencil guy, Patricia, I don't know why he's an offensive coordinator. He doesn't know what he's doing, even though they did have a decent week last week. So I'm with you, man. I think the Lions, it's a smart play. I might even go outright, man, and get some decent odds on that one. I think the Lions can win this game.
No, I would take that money line as well, seeing how it moves, getting closer to Sunday. But I like that winning outright as well.
Yeah, keep an eye on who's healthy, right? Amon-Ra St. Brown, it's still a question mark. He's there.
Hawkinson,
right? You got some guys that you got to keep an eye on. Even if DeAndre Swift plays or not, we'll see. But like I just said, even if Swift doesn't play, Jamal Williams is a freak, man. He just busted right through the line of scrimmage. So I like the Lions to maybe even win that game. And my final play, because you and I were on that one, I'm going to give you San Fran. Now, it's weird. I don't like going all favorites, which is why I'm glad you and I were on the same page with this Lions one. But the Carolina Panthers, Matt Rule, head coach, near and dear to my heart. To you, baby. I went to Temple. He brought some of the best days of my life. I saw them beat Penn State for the first time since I think Ben Franklin was flying a kite with the key on it. They don't beat Penn State. And I saw Matt Rule get to Christian Hackenberg, sack him 9 times. It was great. Matt Rule brought Temple back, kind of. He's not a good NFL coach. Yeah, for a night. He's not a great NFL coach, and we're seeing it. And I like some of the things he did at the beginning with the drafts that he first had, really focusing on the defense. But San Fran, I think this line is disrespectful. The only thing you can give me is, all right, they're coming off of a big win against the Rams, right? We always talk about this stuff. The letdown game the following week. Carolina's a mess. Baker Mayfield blows, man. He is not a good quarterback. And Christian McCaffrey, who knows if he's healthy one week, hurt the next week, playing through injury. DJ Moore clearly hates his life in Carolina right now. Robbie Anderson hates Baker Mayfield. You saw it on Instagram before the season even started. So it's a mess right now in Carolina. I don't understand how San Fran is only a 6.5-point favorite. But I like the Niners. And it's a shame what happened to Trey Lance. Garoppolo's a better quarterback. Garoppolo's, I don't love the dude, but he's better than Trey Lance. And the things that they could do offensively, it's a little bit more expanded. So I love the Niners this weekend, man.
Yeah, and I haven't seen enough from Trey Lance to say he's the better option. Everybody was very high on him coming into this season, but I haven't seen enough from him to kind of say, at this point, I'd rather have Jimmy G because I know what I'm getting from him. I know you can win with Jimmy G. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I know you can improve from Jimmy G. You can get a better quarterback, but Trey Lance, they were oh, it's Trey Lance. This is the guy moving forward. I don't know if that's true.
And my opinion has changed because I thought Baker Mayfield was a good quarterback. I didn't think he was a great quarterback. I thought he was a good quarterback when healthy. And he is proving me wrong week in and week out. I really wanted to support this guy and be like, no, he's good. He's a good quarterback. But it's getting harder and harder each week to defend that.
Yeah, he seems like a gamer, man. And I go, all right, give him credit. It's not like he gives up in games. It's just he's not talented. And he thrived in Cleveland where they had a great rushing attack and he was able to be a game manager. But Man, in Carolina, unless Christian McCaffrey is getting 200 yards total, right, receiving and rushing, I don't see what he can do for this team, man.
Mm-hmm. I am just looking here. Oh, the last thing. We have a DFS or prop. This is by picks. Prize Picks. So Prize Pick segment where we give a DFS pick or the Prize Pick. I don't have the numbers here, but my pick is Saquon Barkley. So either DFS or a prop. Saquon Barkley, he's at 77.5 rushing yards. Green Bay ranks 22nd in opponent rushing yards per game. They're averaging 126 yards given up per game. Barkley is alive. He's well, and I think he smashes this over very easily.
Yeah, I would even say go up, man. Like if you're depending on what book you use, you want to go like a Barkley plus 100 day. I think it's possible. They're just running to the ground, right? Like that's what they're doing at this point. Brian Dable, I don't think is in love with Daniel Jones. You got Kenny Galladay's missing. Kadarius Toney was a waste of a first round pick. So they're going to run the ball constantly with Saquon Barkley, and like you said, he looks like the old Saquon this year, man. So I think that is a great pick. You might even want to go 80 plus, 90 plus, 100 plus yards because I think he could do it. He's been great. And you mentioned the numbers for Green Bay. They're not stopping the run right now.
No. And I mean, he put up 164 yards against Tennessee, 146 against Chicago, 81 against Dallas. So I mean, like, yeah, these numbers, I mean, he's blowing them out of the water. I mean, he's hit it 3 out of 4 games on this over. So I really like it.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to stick with my birds as I've, obviously I love them, but I'm not going to just, again, I don't bet with my heart. And you can do an SGP in this one because I like the Eagles to cover the 5.5. Hurts anytime touchdown score. When in doubt, bet Hurts anytime touchdown score. If you watch an Eagles game and they are in the red zone, there is more likely a shot that he is going to score a touchdown with his legs. And it's not because he can't throw the football. We're seeing him take that next step this year, but he still, he tucks and runs. He does that, and that's okay. He makes plays with his legs. I'm not crushing the guy for doing it. But when it gets into the red zone, man, he's scoring touchdowns. And whether it's QB draws or the play breaks down and he finds a seam and he gets downfield, he's been scoring touchdowns. It seems like every single week. It's almost, if you bet anytime touchdown score for Jalen Hurts last year and this year, you are up big money, okay? Because he's always scoring. It's at the point where it's actually not even plus money anymore, but it's a safe bet to make. And I do like his over in passing yards. He came just shy of it last week because of the conditions. He's going to be inside. It's going to be against Arizona. The defense isn't that great in Phoenix. I'm not afraid of the Cardinals defense. So I actually like his over in passing yards too. So if you want to go a Hurts, Birds, SGP, anytime touchdown score, as well as his over in passing yards, whatever that may be, because it's not like he's a 300-yard average guy. So it's probably going to be in that 250, 260 range. I think he's going to be able to hit that. I mean, look, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, a deep shot to Quez Watkins. The guy's got an embarrassment of riches. So I love some Jalen Hurts props this weekend.
Andrew, who has the most rushing touchdowns as a quarterback this season?
I believe it would be Jalen Hurts.
It's Jalen Hurts with 4 touchdowns. Nobody has more rushing touchdowns as a quarterback than Jalen Hurts. Like you said, great value on there, especially when they get to the red zone. He's the kind of guy that can just pull and run. Right now, he's ranked as the 3rd best fantasy quarterback, 4 throwing touchdowns, 4 rushing touchdowns. I mean, the guy's an absolute freaking monster. So I love that as well. I think especially those mobile quarterbacks, Lamar, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, those kind of guys, that value on them scoring every week is there, right?
Yeah, man, I sent you my SGP that I hit this past weekend because I had just Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson props, right? Anytime touchdown score, over in rushing yards. It was an ugly weather game, right? There was a lot of rain coming up from the Hurricane Ian, right? So they had to use their legs a lot, and it hit because that's the stuff you have to look at, right? Take a look at the weather, take a look at the team that they're playing, take a look at the quarterback, and you're right, man. Those guys, anybody that could do damage with their legs in the NFL as a quarterback, they're a great play, DFS or just in your normal fantasy league. Those guys are always good to look at.
Yes. All right, perfect. That is our show. That's 30 minutes on the dot, Andrew. Nice job. Thank you for all the insight today. I appreciate it.
I mean, I love it. Look, it's my life. That's what we started with. I lucked into getting a sports radio job, and here I am. That's all I do is focus on sports. You know, God forbid, every once in a while, my wife wants to go to the pumpkin patch. I'm like, I don't know. There's a I got Maction tonight, right? We got to pay attention to that because I might talk about it on
Wednesday.
Philly radio, which
Yeah,
we don't talk
exactly.
about on Philly radio.
Yeah. All right, guys, we will be back next week, next Wednesday, same time, 8:30. Show will be streaming live. This is available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify tomorrow morning once it's uploaded. Guys, thanks for watching. We'll be back next week. Have a good one.